The Soul Bros Network proudly brings to you two friends reunite coast to coast to phone it in on history, the creepy and the bizarre, lifestyle and travel, psychological and sociological phenomena. Well, pretty much anything. This is Phone It In on the Soul Bros Network.
So Bros Nation, welcome back for another episode of Phone It In right here on the So Bros Network. Mine's right, ass is tight as we tackle episode 53 for you today. Listen, it's December. It's cooling off outside. There's no better time to get into the mythology surrounding the Yeti than right now. And we're going to do that on this month's episode. Hopefully a little bit lighter than last month's episode on cannibalism. I'm hoping that I won't faint or get lightheaded during the show tonight, but we'll see. We are live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. So if you are watching along, feel free to drop those comments in, and we'll get to them as they come up. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed, well, maybe you should go subscribe to So Bros Network on YouTube and check this out the next time we decide to do it at the last minute and not tell anybody we're going to do it. I am Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on X at Stoney Keeley. Follow us on all major social media platforms at So Bros Network. And that lovely laugh you heard is from the star of the show herself, the cryptid queen, Rooster. Rooster, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. I've had a shot and a half in preparation for
of
this.
Spiced rum? Is that what
I'm
hearing?
Spiced rum. I said rum, but yes, spiced is correct.
I'm cranking back the IPAs tonight.
So we're both a little festive.
East Nashville Beer Works. It is like a champagne IPA. It's very nice. Very nice. Has the dry champagne finish to it. So have you recovered from November's episode? Have you thought about cannibalism anymore? Do you still want to eat people?
I think about it all the time.
Good.
No, that might be my favorite one though. I really like that one.
Your
I'm
favorite
just outing myself as a freak.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But your favorite episode we've ever done?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like the Devil's Den episode. I feel like that was like an actual good episode. Well, I don't mean that to sound,
wow.
You know what I mean, though. It's not. We can be kind of silly sometimes on this show.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was a real deep dive.
Well, we joked about aliens tying shoes on that one. You know?
Oh, yeah, we did. You're right.
That's immediately what I remember from that one.
I think of the Gatlinburg episode. That one was a lot of fun. But
that was a good one.
Yeah, of just
Lincoln
this
Logs.
year. Yeah, the Lincoln Logs. And was that the episode? Well, I can't remember. I don't know. But just this year, you can find my list of my 5 favorite episodes from 2023 up on SoBrosNetwork.com. The cannibalism episode was up there. The Appalachian Mountains episode was up there. That was a lot of fun. The Men in Black episode. I can't even remember the other two that I listed, but do you have any favorite episodes from this year?
Was Dark Matter.
Dark Matter. Yeah. Well, we had like a professor in South Africa reach out to us about that episode.
I thought it was Australia.
Australia, that's the one. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was interesting. Yeah. We should invite him on, you know.
I was about to say, I mean, I never got back to him. Just like, oh, this is cool. An email.
No, fuck that guy. Trying to teach us about Dark Matter.
Yeah. Buddy, come on. The whole point of this show is not to actually educate people.
No.
Nobody gives a fuck about your facts and research.
Well, it just seemed like he's trying to put out his theory. Like, sir, if your research is it, I feel like we would know about it before you saying something.
Yeah, I didn't mean for this episode to turn into us bashing this man who probably, dedicated his life's work to researching dark matter, but
No, I feel like he probably
we're
didn't
not
even
the
listen to
ones.
it. So
Probably not. Probably not. I think if you do listen to it, I think you get a pretty good idea. Like, oh, hey, maybe these guys aren't the people that I should go on this
reach
show
out
and
to, right?
talk about my research, because we're making jokes about being violated by Tom Hiddleston. I don't know how graphic.
That's
we can
always the
get.
one you go to.
It's the only one I think about because it was such a big deal. Like, I felt like something happened at the time and we were like, oh my gosh, somebody that we don't want to listen to the podcast is going to listen to the podcast, and they're going to hear me make a joke about getting fisted by Tom Hiddleston.
Fisted.
So that's why that always comes to mind. I should have written back to this professor and been like, hey, did you listen to this episode? Because here's what I said. And do you still want
Look,
to?
we like to learn, but we're also like violently inappropriate. So
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for you, but I have a really dark, dry sense of humor too.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very dark.
Yeah. So, I mean, shit gets said sometimes that probably
Shouldn't be said.
most professors at universities that dedicate their life's work to research probably wouldn't want to be associated with.
And
I'm
like
gonna go out on
family
a limb and say,
members shouldn't come
yeah,
here.
I mean,
like
I've warned my family. I've told them.
I have
and
too.
My mother to this day, she's like, she supports me, but she has told me, like, I will never share any of your content because
Amazing.
I just don't know. Like, I don't know what you're going to say in one of these articles or podcasts that somebody might see. So, and she told me point blank, she says, Stoney, I support this, but
It's inappropriate.
it's inappropriate. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted because we had a comment pop up. Can you see the comments? Are you looking at the comment?
I keep it full screened. Violently
You keep it full
inappropriate.
screen.
Yeah, okay.
So we're gonna just put that up there.
I see it.
Zach's watching. Violently inappropriate. Put it on a shirt. I would wear that shirt.
I would absolutely wear that shirt.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's a nice little inside joke between all of us, but like if you weren't in on the joke, I think it would
You'd
be
still get it.
I don't know. Are you sure? Because I might look at somebody and be like, I might stay away from this person. Violently inappropriate.
Well, that's true. I'm a woman though. Like you're a man. It's very different.
Well, I'm the one that's like, oh, I'm afraid of what this man's going to do to me. Wearing the shirt that says violently inappropriate. Am I about to get fisted?
And I'm non-threatening, so.
Yeah. Okay. So why, like I said, the best of Phone It In 2023 is up on SobrosNetwork.com. How and why did we land on the Yeti for this month's episode?
I was just going for something
It wasn't
cold.
where we started, by the way.
No.
It wasn't where we started.
No.
We started somewhere else that maybe we'll reserve for next year.
Maybe. Sure.
So you wanted something cold, and the Yeti was the first thing that came to your mind.
The Yeti's cold.
I know the Yeti's cold, but like if you say cold to me, I'm thinking like, ooh, let's do Antarctica. I said that funny, didn't I?
You did.
Antarctica.
Or like
Antarctica. The Ice Age or something like that.
Oh, that would be cool. We can say that.
Instead, we're talking about insulated tumblers.
Yes, actually, that was like the first thing that came up was like Yeti brand mugs and stuff.
Yeah, they really cornered the market on the Yeti. Do you think the tumblers are going to eventually replace the legend in our collective conscious?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. And just, we did an episode on capitalism. I think we've both been pretty critical of capitalism. If this is a situation where capitalism wins, I don't know. Just asking.
I mean, they have like the top Google spot, but no, I don't think so. Because when I hear Yeti, the first thing I think of is still, the abominable snowman.
I think coolers now.
Oh shit, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
I know we're live, but listen, I can hear you dragging your cup across the desk into your microphone.
Oh no, that was me moving my microphone. My bad.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. I thought you were sipping on the rum still. Live television,
No.
pal. All right. So, do you want to kick us off then? Give those viewing, those listening, an introduction to the Yeti.
Oh. So the Yeti is an ape-like creature purported to inhabit the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. In Western popular culture, the creature is commonly referred to as the abominable snowman. Many dubious articles have been offered in an attempt to prove the existence of the Yeti, including anecdotal visual sightings, disputed video recordings, photographs, and plaster casts of large footprints. Some of these are speculated or known to be hoaxes.
It's like a lot of stuff in this. I don't know. Would you classify the Yeti in like the high strangeness realm? I don't know.
No, no, I
No.
wouldn't.
It's
You need like multiple things going on for high strangeness.
yeah. It kind of feels like classic. Excuse me, classic. It's the IPAs talking. Classic cryptid mythology, if you will, folklore. I don't know. I did not realize that the Yeti was specific to a specific region,
Mhm.
but apparently we don't have. I'm jumping ahead. Why don't you just
Okay, okay.
keep the info rolling?
Folklorists trace the origin of the Yeti to a combination of factors, including Sherpa folklore and misidentified fauna such as bear or yak. The Yeti is commonly compared to Bigfoot of North America, as the two subjects often have similar physical descriptions. Um, in Russian folklore, the Chuchuna is an
I
entity
like it.
said to is dwell in Siberia. It has been described as 6 to 7 feet tall and covered with dark hair. According to the native accounts from the nomadic Yakut and Tungus tribes,
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Tungus, um, it is a well-built Neanderthal-like man wearing pelts and bearing a white patch of fur on its forearms.
Well, I mean, when they say it like that, it just sounds like a man. It just
Yeah.
sounds like a man wearing pelts and bearing a
Okay.
white patch of fur on its forearms.
Well, so how would you feel about like what if these okay,
Okay.
so there's a lot of places that have folklore about like hominid, big
Yeah.
furry dudes. I mean, what if there were like what if they were just a half man kind of thing and not like something crazy? Like every now and then you see like, oh, well, it's just DNA of like, what if these are just two mixed species? And it's like, yeah, okay, well, what if? Like nobody's saying the Yeti's gotta be like some crazy ass paranormal thing.
Yeah, that's true. What if it, drawing back to our feral children episode that we did, what if it
Oh
is
yeah,
like a feral child that just grew up and just,
that's a good
you know,
point.
survived in the wild to the point of manhood and is just kind of like, roaming around like doing its thing.
Yeah, I mean, just because we're into the stories that there's something out there doesn't mean the something can't be pretty mundane, you know?
Is that okay? Does that Ryan just chimed in the chat and said you just described the Grinch. Well, it is our holiday episode, so that's good
Mhm.
good timing. Was the Grinch based off the Yeti? I think maybe that's an important question
I mean, he
we
is
could
very
dive.
hairy, you know, the
Yeah,
other Whos aren't hairy. It's kinda
yeah,
weird.
and he lived in a mountain. Wait, we
Mhm.
didn't cover where the Yeti lives, though. He lives in the mountain
Well,
ranges,
yeah,
but not necessarily. We don't know for sure, for a fact, with 100% certainty that
right,
he
he lives
lives in a mountain.
inside, right.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Does that are we crazy for thinking that something like that is a perfectly plausible explanation for these sightings? Because again, I mean, we'll get into the origins of the myth here in a minute, but this is, you're talking about old times, and something that you and I have talked about on this podcast several times before is like people were more inclined to believe in magic and supernatural stuff
Mhm.
back then, and also the flow of information was not as readily available back then as well. So it was kind of easier to just say, "Oh my gosh, there's a beast in the woods. That's the Yeti. That's
Yeah.
the Yeti." It's not a man that was grown from a feral child to be this creature that lives in the woods. It's the Yeti.
Right. Or
Okay.
like even if it were a mix of like a bear and an orangutan, which would be crazy. But
Oh
like,
man. But if
sure.
okay, so let's play with that a little bit,
Okay.
because what animals are in this region of the world
Oh
that
God,
would
you can't.
mate to create the Yeti?
How am I gonna know the answer to that? Why am I gonna know? I don't
I think
know.
I think I just we're doing this live. We're not recording it, and I think I just blew a booger out of my nose on camera. So that's great. Well, I mean, like I don't hear, the snow-capped mountains and think orangutan.
No, I know, which is weird because like people bring it up a couple of times, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Maybe there are in that part of the world. I don't know.
I mean, they are in Asia, right?
Yeah.
Asia, yeah.
I
But
say
yeah,
that with
certainly,
no confidence whatsoever. Yeah.
but not in the mountains. You wouldn't think. I don't know. It does come up though. So
If okay, just based on what the Yeti looks like, or the stereotype of the Yeti, what two animals would you say had to mate to create that? What I'm getting at is I think a
a
dude fucked
human
a
and a
bear.
polar bear.
I think a dude fucked a bear,
A human
and
and a polar bear.
they made the Yeti. I don't somebody just joined the broadcast, and I love that was the idea. Like, our numbers go up and the first thing they hear is a dude fucked a bear.
See, violently inappropriate. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Zach chimes in with a wild yak, or Asiatic. Did I say that right? Black bear?
Asia tick.
Asia tick. I've,
No, which
I've,
is that's what I
I've,
said. They said they think it could be a yak or a bear.
I've never, I thought yaks were, God, this is so stupid. What I love about this show is, like, we don't have barriers. Whatever's in my brain comes out. I don't know
Yes.
what a yak looks like. When you say yak, I picture like deer.
Do you not remember like when we were younger, it was like yakety yak? You never saw shit? You
Don't
never
talk
saw
back.
like yeah, you never saw the cartoon with like a yak? Oh,
No, no.
well. I think
I
they
watched
just look
Little
like
House on the Prairie when I was a kid.
I think they look like kind of like um like a bison, kind of like a bison
Okay.
or like a muskox kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah,
You
okay.
want me to show you? Can I just does that help?
That does help. Yeah, okay. Muskox and the Grinch fucked, and there's the Yeti.
Yeah.
So, as I've completely hijacked this show with my nonsense, let's keep it moving. Talk a little bit about the origins of this myth.
So in Buddhist mythology, the Yetis were peaceful creatures that were very shy and lived in dense snow caves on the glaciers, which form the
Excuse me?
which which I don't want to read, which form the I get so weird about pronouncing things in front of people.
Ganges River. The Ganges.
Ganges. I was gonna say Ganges.
All I remember is that I wrote an article about the Ganges River once, because there was a clip that went viral on the internet of a guy falling down the stairs, and he fell like 30 stairs directly into the river. And I got that clip and I wrote about it. 300 words, made a whole ass article.
um,
Wasn't paying attention in geography class. That's what I remember the Ganges River from.
I mean, I've obviously read it. I just never, it doesn't come up in conversation. Anyway,
Yeah.
in India, in modern times, most sightings and evidence are on K2, which is a mountain.
Okay, I was going to ask, what is K2?
I'm pretty sure that's the name of a mountain. Yakety yak. See, yeah, it was some show.
I'm just laughing because our buddy Zach here calls the Animaniacs hairy bulls with a mullet.
No, I think he was talking about Yakety yak. It's like hairy bulls with a mullet.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've been drinking.
The name Yeti derives from Yete, meaning rock thing.
I knew that. I knew that it was Yeti.
You did say that. Yeah, you said that.
But I did not. I love how descriptive the ancient civilizations were. That they were like, what is that on the mountain? We don't recognize that. It's not a human. It's not a bear. It's not a yak. Oh, it's a rock thing.
I don't know if it's later on, but like their words are a lot of te.
Yeah. Which is like South Park, right? No, I'm thinking of Timmy. May. Sorry. Continue.
Okay, the Yeti was even mentioned in pre-Buddhist cultures, such as the Lecce people who worshipped a glacier giant as a god of the hunt. Tibetan
that sounds a lot cooler than the Yeti.
God
a
of the
glacier
hunt.
giant?
Yeah.
God of the hunt? Yeah.
Tibetan and Nepalese monasteries have collected several skulls and bones of the Yetis, some of which reside in the Smithsonian Museum today. Although one of their specimens was proven to be a human bone, others stored in the museum are still in question.
Okay, so let's break that down for a second, because monasteries have collected several skulls and bones of the Yetis, some of which reside in the Smithsonian Museum today. I want to go to the Smithsonian now and see what these are. I mean, I know.
Looks like, yeah.
Yeah, I want to know what it looks like, because this is, I mean.
Well, was it stolen too? Like, how they get it?
Yeah. I'm curious, because we're talking about this and we're having some fun and we're being facetious in a lot of different regards, but like, this is the fucking Smithsonian. That are like, I don't know if you looked into this or not, but like, are these on display as like, oh, this is the Yeti?
I have not looked into it.
Because don't you think that would give this myth a little bit of credibility? Or could you do it in a way that's like, oh, well, this is rumored to be the Yeti. This is the folklore behind this, but we don't really know. You know what I'm saying?
I think museums could do that. Like, you could have like a folklore area. I don't know what the Smithsonian looks like. I've never been, but that would be neat. I would be really into that.
Well, according to Sean, the Smithsonian is incredible.
Well, Sean, do they have a Yeti bone on display?
Yeah, Sean, let us know. Let us know if you saw the Yeti skull at the Smithsonian.
Yeah, like, what is this? Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of thing. Like, that seems like it would be in there.
Yeah. I'm also intrigued by this, because I mean, how do you verify that these skulls are Yeti skulls? You know, I know you mentioned in a note there, like, already, like, oh, one was proven to be a human skull, but you know, how do they know at the monastery? Like, are they taking the head off of the beast that they just killed, or are they just finding it on the mountain?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, like, a lot of this stuff isn't coming from them. It's not like we have sources from Sherpas on like where they got this stuff. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just interesting to think about, because a lot of the things that we talk about on this show are kind of out there that you wouldn't expect. Oh, there's an exhibit on this at the Smithsonian Museum. So I just thought that was an interesting note.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, they might not have it out on display.
Ryan adds that he's got a
one.
Yeti bone on display after all that Tom Hiddleston talk. I'm going to have to go back and find what episode that was.
That was it was whenever we were talking about, like, fuck.
Was it the Gatlinburg episode?
It was like the brainwashing episode, whatever that one was.
We did an episode on brainwashing?
I don't think we called it brainwashing, but it might have been the episode where we talked about how the government was.
Oh, MK Ultra.
Yes, MK Ultra.
Yeah, we did an episode
It was
on
that episode. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on to sightings and or investigative efforts. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here.
So there's a lot, and that's why I put or investigative efforts, because like not all these are sightings, so I don't know why they come up. But okay, so in 1832, James Prinsep's Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal published trekker B.H. Hodgson's account of his experiences in northern Nepal. His local guides spotted a tall bipedal creature covered with long dark hair, which seemed to flee in fear. Hodgson concluded it was an orangutan.
I
So I
think it's
told you to come back up.
Bengal. I think it's pronounced Bengal, but
Bengal.
I would have said bipedal. So I don't know if I'm an accurate source on how to pronounce it.
Bipedal.
A creature
Or like
covered
like a Bengal tiger?
Yeah, but I thought the place, like the proper place.
Oh,
like
I don't know.
Bengal was
That
the
sounds
name.
right. Sure.
The Bay of Bengal.
We'll go with it.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm going based off how we say the tiger. So
yeah. Okay. So he sees this thing. This is 1832. Okay,
yeah.
at least he has the wherewithal back then to conclude, oh, this was an orangutan. Which again, I did not realize orangutans were in this part of the country. And by country, I mean planet.
I don't know what northern Nepal is like either. Like, are we in the mountains? Are we not in the mountains? I have no idea.
Good question. We probably should have looked at a map before we did this. Well, yeah, okay. So when I hear Nepal, I'm thinking like bordering Russia, but no, it actually is like Nepal is just to the north of India.
Mm-hmm.
And bordering on Tibet. So yeah, you know what? I mean, maybe that's why it was so unusual. It registers. It's like you're not used to. I don't know why I'm saying this, as if like in India the orangutan walking around.
You know what the average Indian man sees.
Yeah. I'm just gonna shut up because
religion has introduced the bandar, a native monkey, into the central region where it seems to flourish, half domesticated in the neighborhood of temples in the populous valley of Nepal proper. Oh, this is a quote, by the way. My shooters, like not my shooters, whoever's. I think this is from his book. I guess
this is old BH himself, right?
My shooters were once alarmed in the Kachar by the apparition of a wild man, possibly an orang, but I doubt their accuracy. They mistook the creature for a cacodemon.
Okay. I was going to say cacodemon.
Or rakshas, which are also demons, and fled from it instead of shooting it. It moved, they said, erectly, and was covered with long dark hair and had no tail.
Whew. Okay. So first of all, missed opportunity of a lifetime. They run from this thing instead of shooting it. If only they had known, all they have to do is kill it, cut its head off, and they could send it to a museum.
Why do you have to kill it? Why are they so scared of it?
Well, I mean, you don't have to kill it. I'm just saying there's glory there. You could be in a museum forever.
So if you saw something standing on two legs with long dark hair, are you shooting? Is that your first instinct?
If it's covered in hair, well, you know, I don't know, because see, my gut reaction is, okay, there's something covered in hair and it's walking on two legs. It's one of those things. It's like, it's moving like a human, but it doesn't look human. It's not a human. So, you know, I would say my gut reaction would be to shoot it. Yes. Especially
I just want to look at it.
If it's like the 1800s. and I don't know no better. I'm just shooting everything back then. But then I remembered in the 1990s seeing the little wolf boys on Maury Povich's show. And then I would think, oh, it's possible for human beings to be covered in fur. And then in that case, no, I don't shoot it.
Yeah, I would just want to look at it. I'd be like, what the fuck is that? You know, like
Come back to America with me and I will put you on this talk show.
like people get so scared of seeing a demon. Like, wouldn't you want to? I would want to see what that looks like.
I don't think I'd want to. I think a demon is where I draw the line.
But like, okay, so but a biblically accurate angel seems so much scarier than seeing a demon.
Yeah. You got a point there. Yeah,
like they're all eyeballs and wings, and you'd be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I mean it would be terrifying. But I don't think I would be as afraid that it would take over my body and make me do heinous things, you know? And I think that's why I'm afraid of, I would be afraid. I'd be like, oh gosh, is that a demon?
That sounds nice.
You don't have to go to work in the morning.
Right. Sounds nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Sean here. The only demons I need to see are the ones on my TV.
No, I would be like I would want to run, but I would be like probably glued there, like just overwhelmed by curiosity.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've talked about this show. Sean asked if Stoney is a demon in the sheets. And, you know, I would just say that it depends on how long it's been in between. So, I don't even remember what I was going to say now. What was that?
We've talked about this show. That's all you got to.
We've talked about this on this show before.
Okay.
And I don't know that I fully understand my fight or flight because I feel like I'm generally a laid back guy, but in the right situation, I will just say I have surprised myself in certain moments by my response to a triggering external factor, if you will. And so I sit here and say, like, I would not want to encounter a demon or the Yeti. And I'm telling you, Rooster, I would run from this thing. But then in the moment, I don't know. Like based on past experiences, I would at least leave the door open for the possibility that I would try and run up and punch this thing.
I think you might. I know from past experiences, I do freeze. So it's like I'm just trying to comprehend what's happening.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Do we want to get on to the next story or
no, let's just stay here for the rest.
Stay here for the rest of the show.
An early record of reported footprints appeared in 1899 in Lawrence, Waddell.
I'm going Waddell there because I had family that was named Waddell and it was spelled like that.
I feel like last names can be so tricky.
They can, yeah.
Because like they can look a certain.
You don't have to freeze every time I put the comments on the screen.
I'm looking.
You're it's like when Brandon and I used to do live streams, and you know, people do like the Q&A format where they just comment as you're talking, and I would keep the show on the rails, and I would just see Brandon like
going off the rails. I'm reading it. I'm thinking about it.
And I would ask Brandon a question pertaining to the subject matter of our podcast, and he would just be like, huh, what'd you say? Because he was just reading the comments and talking to people there.
So Lawrence Waddell's among the Himalayas.
Well, hang on now. I did see
hang
on. I did see a natural pause point, and I wanted to answer Sean's question because he asked, would you rather face a demon or a Yeti in the open or a shark in the water? And I'm taking the demon and the Yeti. Like I have a paralyzing phobia of sharks. I don't know if you guys understand this about me or not, but Brandon walked up to me in Tower Records one night and just without me knowing, just tapped me on the shoulder. And when I turned around, he had a DVD copy of Jaws in his hand right in my face. And I almost had a panic attack in Tower Records. That's how bad it is. So I'm taking the demon or the Yeti. What about you, Rooster?
I would rather take the demon or the Yeti because I love demons. It's
Okay.
very cool to me. I do have a fear of water. I really hate when I can't see, but I feel pretty
Yeah.
confident that you could just like, you just push a shark away, you know?
Well, they say you can just like punch him in the nose. And they're
Yeah,
gonna,
well, you can just guide them away. They're just fish, and
yeah.
but it is, I mean, if you can't see it.
Yeah. Ooh, tough scene. All right, let's get back to Lawrence Waddell.
Okay. Waddell reported his guide's description of a large ape-like creature that left the prints, which Waddell thought were made by a bear. Waddell heard stories of bipedal ape-like creatures, but wrote that none, however, of the many Tibetans I have interrogated on the subject could ever give me an authentic case. On the most superficial investigation, it always resolved into something that somebody heard tell of.
This is like something they're whispering about.
Well, so very, very folklore,
Yeah.
The frequency of reports increased during the early 20th century when Westerners began making determined attempts to scale the many mountains in the area and occasionally reported seeing odd creatures or strange tracks.
How much of it do you think was reliable, and how much of it do you think was like hypothermia up in the cold mountains?
We don't know about hypothermia. I mean, like, Sherpa are great. They know the area, they know what they're doing. But I feel like every place and every people's got their folklore. So,
Well, but I mean, it sounds like the locals are used to it. It's not
right,
anything out of the ordinary. They're like, oh,
right.
that's just old Yeti up there. He's just, out for his Sunday bath kind of deal.
Mhm.
But it's all the foreigners going in and traveling and trying to scale these mountains that are like, what
Yeah,
is
well,
this?
I mean, white people, they're like, I gotta kill it, I gotta stuff it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
kill it, stuff it, put it in a museum.
Yep. Put it in my entryway in my house. This is my Yeti butler.
Yeah.
So in 1925, N.A. Tom Bazzi, a photographer and member of the Royal Geographical Society, writes that he saw a creature at about 15,000 feet near Zimu Glacier. Tom Bazzi later wrote that he observed the creature from about 200 to 300 yards for about a minute.
I couldn't see shit from that far away.
I don't really know how far that is.
Well, 200 to 300 yards is like 3 football fields. 2 to 3 football fields.
Okay, that's very far away.
Yeah.
For about a minute. Unquestionably, the figure in outline was exactly like a human being, walking upright and stopping occasionally to pull at some dwarf
Rhododendron.
Good job. I never.
I got that one. That's a plant.
Okay. It is, yeah. It showed up dark against the snow, and as far as I can make out, wore no clothes. About 2 hours later, 2 hours.
What are you doing for 2 hours?
Tom
Just watching
Bazzi
it?
and his companions descended the mountain. Yeah, what are they doing for those 2 hours? And saw the creature's prints described as similar in shape to those of a man, but only 6 to 7 inches long by 4 inches wide. The prints were undoubtedly those of a biped.
Okay, but they're 2 to 300. Excuse me, my goodness. I've been coughing since October. But they're 200 to 300 yards away. So what I'm getting at is like, how reliable can this account be? Or can normal people see 2 to 300 yards away and I'm just blind?
I guess if it was moving, it would be easier, but like, is it snowing? Because sometimes snow can make you think things are moving, like
Ooh, yeah.
add
Little
some
optical illusion.
movement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I have looked up a picture. I think I specifically looked up this one, and people are like, this is an outline of like rock. Like
Rock thing.
snow and then rock thing. But like, if you look at a mountain, it's not all perfectly covered in snow. You have like outcroppings of rock and stuff. And
You okay? You got
this,
a burp?
yeah, is burp. And this was, I mean, it looked like an outline of like a rock outcropping, but it did look human, like somebody standing up. But I mean, they say it looked like he was, and how they know what kind of fucking bushes he was pulling.
Well, I mean, if they walk to the scene afterwards, they might could see like,
sure.
oh, this is the bush of the rhododendron. Ooh, I need to write a poem titled that.
There you go.
The bush of the rhododendron.
Did they see it walk away? They see it leave? I don't know. Because like if they got up to it, they would have noticed that it was like an outcropping.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the rocks aren't going to move. But to your point about snow, like if the snow's falling and then it's not falling, does it change the...
Yeah, does it make it seem like something's moving?
Yeah, I don't know. Zach points out that they didn't have screens back then, better eyesight. You're nodding. You're not nodding.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think screens do, fuck with your eyesight. I have astigmatism, so I'm fucked either way. But
yeah, I don't know what that is, but I have a hard time seeing at night.
Oh yeah, that does get worse.
Yeah, I've never been to an eye doctor. The only time I've had my eye,
You've never?
the only time I've had my vision tested is after
concussion.
that guy sucker punched me in the in the house, and I had to go for my concussion. And they were like, you just got hit in the head pretty hard, so we'll give you a pass. But like, if this is how you normally see, then yes, you should go see an eye doctor. And then I never did.
Fun. It's kind of fun.
I mean, I'd be up for it. I just, you know how I am. I never make time for things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, I mean,
we're talking about the reliability of a Yeti sighting.
Okay, so the next one is Sir Edmund Hillary was one of the first two men to climb the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. He climbed the 29,000 feet peak with Sherpa Tenzing Norgay, reaching the top on May 29th, 1953. In the 1950s, curiosity about the identity of the abominable snowman drew Edmund Hillary into the search. Stories of hairy man-like creatures were known. Footprints in the snow and in mud were found to indicate some such cryptids were active in out-of-the-way places in Nepal, Tibet, and the surrounding region. In 1952, Hillary, along with George Lowe, found hair on a high pass while in the mountains, relating it to the Yeti. In 1953, Yeti tracks were found by Hillary in the Barren Cola range. The next year, two British members of Hillary's team discovered Yeti tracks in the Choyang Valley. His trusted Sherpa friends would tell Hillary of their first-hand sightings of the man-sized Yeti. When Hillary went to the Himalayas to look for the Yeti, he and his collaborator, journalist Desmond Doig, Doig, that's fun, noted that there were several unknown primates still undiscovered in any formal way that were said to be there. Any formal way.
So first of all, with this story,
it's a lot.
We're talking about Mount Everest, and Mount Everest is kind of a creepy place to begin with. I think it's a creepier place than people give it credit for. It's isolated. Like if you're going up Mount Everest, I feel like you have to be of a certain ilk. You have to be cut from a certain cloth to even want to go up there. No doubt that there's some strange shit happening. Your mind's gonna wear a little bit. And then like all the dead bodies, which in 1953, I don't know how many dead bodies they were encountering back then, but now, it's too treacherous of a path to go up and retrieve the bodies of climbers who have passed, so they just fucking leave them on the side of the mountain. I don't know, like maybe I'm crazy, but the vibes just seem off for Mount Everest to begin with.
Pretty dark, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't. Would you ever want to climb Mount Everest?
No,
I mean,
fuck.
I would do it if it was safe. If you could like put me in a bubble, or like give me like a little, give me a little airplane, just a personal airplane, and I just
It
fly
does not
around it.
seem worth it. It doesn't seem enjoyable. It doesn't
No.
seem fun.
I could not. There's no way in hell. Like I know I'm not built for certain things. I am the clumsiest motherfucker. I fell down my steps last night. I rolled my own big toe up under my foot and tripped and fell down the rest of the way. I can't imagine some of the trail that goes up Everest where you're
Yeah,
having to like
it
basically
just sounds like
swing across canyons of ice.
a miserable experience. I mean,
And see, I feel like it's one of those places, and this is me just speaking out of ignorance and reckless speculation because this is a safe space here.
yes.
But I'm just thinking like I'm gonna get halfway up that mountain and I'm gonna start losing my fucking mind. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
well,
start seeing things that aren't there. I'm gonna start
I mean, it sounds
hallucinating.
like the fun part, honestly. That sounds like the only
Well, yeah, you don't
pro.
have to go to work the next morning at that
Uh,
point.
um, but I've also had a deflated lung. What is that gonna do to me? Like, am I gonna be able to breathe up there? I don't know. I don't wanna risk it. Like,
Yeah, it's high altitude. I don't know if you know this or not, but Mount Everest, high altitude.
I did not know that.
Who would have thought, right?
But I don't know. I feel like, lungs heal back, but I never feel like got back the lung capacity that I used to. So I don't know.
I mean, also, yeah, like what if you do get up there and your lungs start crapping out on you and you're halfway up the mountain?
Right.
You
Like
know,
you're
it's not
struggling to breathe, you're hallucinating. That
like that's a bad point in time to realize my lungs are failing me. Because
yeah.
I mean, how quickly, I don't know, do they have slides off the side of Mount Everest where if like something
Yes.
happens, you can bail and just be
Yeah.
like, hop down this slide?
No, there's nothing. But okay, so you're walking on a mountain, you see a chunk of hair. Are you immediately like Yeti?
If I've been out in the cold for
Okay.
5 days, not eating, constantly climbing up the mountain, yes, I might see the Yeti in that. That's what I'm
Okay.
getting at with all of these questions.
Okay. Yeah. So like you're just exhausted. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Haven't been eating, out of your fucking
Right.
mind.
Yeah,
And that's a great point where like stories you've heard are going to play on your brain.
for sure. Absolutely.
Um on
Let's
March 9th.
I was about to say, yeah, let's go on because I've just noticed the timer and we're at 48 minutes and we still have 2
Yep.
stories to go plus.
On March 19th, 1954, the Daily Mail printed an article which described expedition teams obtaining hair specimens from what was alleged to be a Yeti scalp found in the Pangbosh monastery.
Gotcha.
The hairs were black to dark brown in color in dim light and fox red in sunlight. The hair was analyzed by Professor Frederick Wood Jones, an expert in human comparative anatomy.
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 Yeah, you got it.
During the study, the hairs were bleached, cut into sections, and analyzed microscopically. The research consisted of taking micro photographs of the hairs and comparing them with hairs from known animals such as bears and orangutans.
There's those orangutans again.
Jones concluded that the hairs were not actually from a scalp. He contended that while some animals do have a ridge of hair extending from the pate,
Pate, I believe.
from the pate to the back, no animals have a ridge running from the base of the forehead across the pate and it's not pate, but I like it. And ending at the nape of the neck. Jones was unable to pinpoint exactly the animal from which the Pangbosh hairs were taken. He was, however, convinced that the hairs were not from a bear or anthropoid ape, but instead from the shoulder of a coarse-haired hoofed animal.
It's the yak.
A demon.
Yak is back.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a demon. I forgot.
Yeah.
Because demons have hooves, right?
Yeah. Um, I'll just keep rolling.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get through 6 and 7, and then we'll wrap things up.
In 1960, Sir Edmund Hillary mounted the 1960 to 61 Silver Hut expedition to the Himalayas, which was to collect and analyze physical evidence of the Yeti. Can you tell this was written by an English person?
That yeah, analyze.
Yeah.
The Silver Hut expedition sounds pretty cool. You might
Yes.
could convince me into doing some stupid shit if you call it the Silver Hut expedition.
Hillary borrowed a supposed Yeti scalp from the Kumjung monastery, then himself and Kumjo Chumbi, the village
Okay.
headman, brought the scalp back to London, where a small sample was cut off for testing. Marka Burns made a detailed examination of the sample of skin and hair from the margin of the alleged Yeti scalp and compared it with similar samples from the Saro,
Sure.
blue bear, and black bear. Burns concluded the sample was probably made from the skin of an animal closely resembling the sampled specimen of Saro, but definitely not identical with it, possibly a local variety or race of the same species or a different but closely related species. So some kind of bear.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
In early December 2007, American television presenter Joshua Gates. This is why I put this one in here. I loved Destination Truth. I don't know if you ever watched it, but I loved it.
I never watched Destination Truth. No.
I would a job where you go and just try and hunt down cryptids.
I feel like that's the ultimate ambition and vision of this show,
Amazing.
right?
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I had a full-blown crush on Josh Gates. I was like, let me do this job. I want to be there. This looks great. Kind of Indiana Jones-ish, you know, like
Ooh,
get
okay.
in with the culture, find cryptids.
Yeah.
Um,
Instead, we got to go to fucking work every day.
Yep. So they reported finding a series of footprints in the Everest region of Nepal resembling descriptions of Yeti. Each of the footprints measured 13 inches in length with 5 toes that measured a total of 25 centimeters, so 9 inches across.
Damn.
Casts were made of the prints for further research. The footprints were examined by Jeffrey Meldrum of Idaho State University, who believed them to be too morphologically accurate to be fake or man-made, before changing his mind after making further investigations.
So he got a second look and was like, "Oh no, wait."
Yeah, once the cameras were gone, he was like, "Never mind, this is bullshit."
Yeah, he's like, "I can't. My reputation's at stake here."
Later in 2009, in a TV show, Gates presented hair samples with a forensic analyst concluding that the hair contained an unknown DNA sequence.
Okay, so let's chew on that for a minute. Because the implication is going to be it's a very salacious thing to say, "Oh, this is an unknown DNA sequence," right?
It could still be very mundane.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that
So
kind of
thank you
comes
for
back to
just
what I was saying at the beginning. Like, it could still be super mundane, but does that mean you can't call it the Yeti anymore? Like, what if the Yeti is just like a weird hybrid of a bear and a monkey? Like, I
yeah.
feel like that's still fair to call it a Yeti.
It's kind of like where I'm leaning with this whole discussion. I'm trying to fight back a burp, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that I do feel like there is kind of, I don't know, when you propose this as a topic, I kind of thought, "Ooh, yeah, let's get back into the cryptids. We haven't talked about a cryptid in a while." But then you start reading the accounts of it, and this kind of just feels like basic biology. You know, like there's probably a completely plausible explanation for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a yak.
That's so what sucks is whenever we do a cryptid, I always like just be like, I don't know, convince myself out of cryptids being a thing. So it's like we gotta, because if you look a little too closely, it's like, okay, the myth falls apart.
Yeah, it
Except for
does.
Mothman, that one's
Oh,
still weird as
Mothman.
shit.
Yeah, and Skinwalker Ranch too, which I guess
Yep.
that's
High
about
strangeness. High strangeness is still very weird.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, this kind of, I don't want to use the term, I don't want to say it's easy. Like, we haven't solved the mystery of the Yeti or anything on this show,
No.
but I kind of feel like, compared to shows that we've done in the past, it does seem like there's been a lot of research done, credible research by credible people that arrive to logical conclusions about the Yeti is.
Yeah. What I think is interesting though is how many cultures have a story of something like this. Like you have Bigfoot, you have Yeti, you have like other things. Like there's an
Well,
Australian one. I can't remember the name of it, but there's like an Australian one. There, I mean, you just have all over the world, people have some kind of legend that's like just a
well,
giant hairy person living out in the
no.
woods.
Now, Bigfoot is different. Bigfoot is actually an interdimensional creature that
Okay.
just opens portals to pop up in the woods from time to time.
Sure.
Okay. Good. We're in agreement there.
We've still never done one specifically on Bigfoot, have we?
No, we haven't, and that's
Okay.
a big one. That's a big
We
episode.
we did Teddy Roosevelt and Bigfoot,
Yeah,
but we didn't.
yeah, because there's a theory out there that Teddy Roosevelt created the national park system to house Bigfoots.
Yeah.
Like, Teddy Roosevelt was an avid Bigfoot hunter. So
Yeah.
if you're into that kind of idea, maybe go back to the Phone It In catalog. I don't remember what number it is. It was last year's.
No.
It was on last year's slate of episodes. This is back in 2022. We did an episode on Teddy Roosevelt and Bigfoot.
It is interesting that that's coming up because
Yeah.
hold on. So the misidentification of Himalayan wildlife has been proposed as an explanation for some Yeti sightings, including the Chute,
Chute.
a langur monkey living at lower altitudes, the Tibetan blue bear or the Himalayan brown bear, or tsute, also known as Himalayan red bear. So I put langur monkeys are like 2 feet tall. Who's seeing that and being like, oh, that's Yeti? No.
Well, what if that monkey mated with a bear?
2 feet tall.
The offspring could naturally become the Yeti.
Okay, so but in 1983, what did you call this?
Barren Valley.
Barren Valley discoveries prompted 3 years of research on the tree bear possibility by Taylor Fleming, John Craighead, and Tirtha Shrestha.
Good job.
From that research, the conclusion was that the Asiatic black bear, when about 2 years old, spends much time in trees to avoid attack by larger male bears on the ground. During this tree period that may last 2 years, young bears train their inner claw outward, allowing an opposable grip. The imprint in the snow of a hind paw coming over the front paw that appears to have a hallux, especially when the bear is going slightly uphill. So anyway, it's just saying it could look like a bipedal.
I mean, that's pretty, yeah.
But all of this is to say, like, that they then initiated the national park that protects over 500,000 acres in 1991 and across the border to, protect these animals.
Yeah.
Just like Teddy Roosevelt protecting Bigfoot.
I mean, it makes sense. Again, like, we're getting to a point where, like, this is like a perfectly logical explanation for what some of these sightings could have been.
Yeah. I mean, a bear, sure. Yeah. I don't.
Do you feel like there are as many strange stories about the Yeti as there are, like, Bigfoot?
No, not about Bigfoot.
Like,
not about, no.
What's the distinction between the two? I mean, do you think it's just like a cultural thing? Because we keep talking about these people going to explore this region of the world, and like the locals are just like, oh yeah, that's just the Yeti.
Well,
up there.
right. I
And
mean,
like
for
over here, we're
them,
like, fuck, that's a Bigfoot. Holy shit, it came to us from another dimension. It's gonna disappear into the woods. It's invisible and supernatural and all this shit.
well, we don't go back as far as like
Touche.
indigenous people. So we don't
Obviously,
like
yeah.
they have their stories of like the glacier god of the hunt, and like it's just a shy creature. Like it's just existing with them as far as we know. And so
Yeah.
sure, they're probably like, yeah, whatever. For us, we're like, oh, the woods are scary.
Yeah.
um
Look at that big hair-covered man.
so yeah, it's a very different relationship, but they've had a lot of time to cultivate that relationship.
Fair enough.
So the last bit is in 2013, a call was put out by scientists from the universities of Oxford and Lausanne.
Just hear the disappointment in your voice.
I hate it. I hate it.
I feel like there are a lot more names in this episode, the one that we choose to go live with, that are difficult to pronounce than usual.
I feel like it's always there, and I put it down. I'm like, no, I'm fine with that. But then once I start saying it, I'm like, God damn, I do not know. But sure, Lausanne for people.
Lausanne.
For people claiming to have samples from these sorts of creatures, a mitochondrial DNA analysis of the 12S RNA gene was undertaken on samples of hair from an unidentified animal from Ladakh
Okay.
in northern India on the west of the Himalayas, and one from Bhutan.
Mm-hmm.
These animals were compared with those in GenBank, the International Repository of Gene Sequences, and matched a sample from an ancient polar bear jawbone found in Svalbard, Norway,
Damn.
that dates back to between 40,000 and 120,000 years ago. The results suggest that, barring hoaxes of planted samples or contamination, bears in these regions may have been taken to be Yeti.
Damn, that sucks. That just killed the whole thing. It's the Yeti's an ancient polar bear.
A polar bear mixed with something, though, maybe. That would be cool.
Yeah. But I mean, that makes sense. Like, again, we keep coming up with this. It's like the most logical explanation. And it
I
works.
think a lot of this stuff has to be planted, though. Like, we don't have evidence of Bigfoot.
Huh.
Like, if Yeti and Bigfoot are actually the same thing or a similar thing, then they probably don't have real evidence of Yeti. But
if Bigfoot's from another dimension.
Sure, right. You get where I'm going.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you make of all this? Because I kind of lean towards just it's an animal that, like we've talked about, might not be a very could just be a hybrid that has survived throughout the years in extreme conditions that people don't frequently travel. And when they do travel, it's usually under extreme conditions that probably put a strain on the mind that might see things that maybe aren't necessarily there. And
it could be a bunch of things. You're out in the wilderness, you're scared, you're dehydrated, it's extreme. These stories are playing on your brain, but maybe it's not a bear, but maybe it is like somebody else. Maybe it's just somebody else in their like shaggy fur clothing walking around.
Yeah.
Like,
because like
you could have various things that contribute to this story.
That's another aspect of it too, is that makes it a little more plausible, is that you're in like this cold region, like snow-capped mountains in like Mount Everest. You're seeing, if another person were to be out there, especially back in like the 1800s, it's pretty likely they're probably going to be covered in fur to keep warm.
Yeah.
Whereas with Bigfoot, they see him out in the woods in California.
Right.
It's a little out of place. Like, why is that man covered in fur? But then again, it's California, so I mean, shit. If you ever been out there, you ever been to California?
Well, especially in that region, you get those hippies, just long hair
know,
and fringe everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's
I don't know.
what Bigfoot is. It's just a hippie with French.
Fucking California.
Yep.
I don't know how we got here, but it's like a lot of our episodes. We go to places that
It's
I
pretty
don't
closely
know.
related.
Well, fair enough.
We're not
Fair
too
enough.
far off the beaten path.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, we got
That's
to the
it.
end of the agenda. Any parting shots before we roll the final credits?
No. Is it going to be the Looney Tunes outro?
No, I'm not going to run that. Looney Tunes out. What do you think of when you hear the term Yeti?
I think of that old ski game.
Oh my God, I was going to say the same thing.
No!
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Or
the Abominable Snowman.
yeah, Free Ski or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, the ski game from the old computers and
Yep. That
Rudolph the
scared the
Red-Nosed
shit out of
Reindeer.
me. Well, that's a good one. I was gonna say that ride. That fuck.
Oh.
At Disneyland.
Yeah,
And
I know
maybe
what
Disney World. I don't know if it's there.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called now.
Cool.
Well,
all right. Great note to end on.
But that's a great ride.
Yeah. So if you have nothing else to add, then I'll get us on out of here today.
Shimmerhorn? The
Skirmerhorn?
Sure. I think it's something like that. Sure.
Matterhorn.
Matterhorn.
Because I've got a book called Matterhorn, but it's about like the Vietnam War. I've got a really cool book that I always say like every January I'm going to read. I don't know why I'm bringing it up because I can't read the title of it and I can't go get it because I'm live on the air. We've established on this show today that my vision is terrible. I think it might just be called Abominable, but it's about a skier that gets trapped on the mountain and he starts encountering like all this weird stuff.
That sounds awesome.
It's a massive book.
Oh,
I'll send it to you after we get done recording. But I always say like
scary winter books. Scary winter books are great.
The perfect winter book, and I've read like one chapter and thought, "Oh man, this is awesome," and then I never picked it up again. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, Rooster, where can people find you on social media?
At Rooster_Chase. Basically everywhere. That's on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok.
Hang on, I just realized.
It's
gotta add the.
There it is. Yeah, it's right down there. Although it's different in our intro, so.
Oh damn it! I've got to update
that.
Shit, I didn't even think about that. All right, Ryan says it was a fun show. Thank you, Ryan, for tuning in.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Sean, for jumping in. Thank you, Zach, for jumping in the comments. It's a great time. I'm at Stoney Keeley. Together, we are at Sobros Network. Thank you all for the support of Phone It In throughout 2023. I think we've done some really fun episodes. I hope you guys will go back and check out some of the recent work that we've done. It's been a good time. I appreciate all your support. Subscribe, rate, review wherever you take in your podcast. Phone It In is out there. Hit us up at SobrosNetwork.com and do consider supporting the Patreon at patreon.com/SobrosNetwork. For the Cryptid Queen, I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley, and until next time, you stay classy, phoners.
Bye.
The Sobros Network proudly brings to you Two Friends Reunite Coast to Coast to Phone It In on history, the creepy and the bizarre, lifestyle and travel, psychological and sociological phenomena. Well, pretty much anything. This is Phone It In on the Sobros Network.